is Sherry Cook with the Connection Real Estate, and today we have the lovely pleasure of having Kelly Till. She's not only an amazing real estate agent that works with us, but she is an exceptional licensed transaction coordinator. So hello, Kelly.
Hello.
So we're going to talk about 2025 GAR changes. I know everyone's excited. There's so many changes, and we're going to get her take on what she does for all of her clients, real estate agent clients, what she does for them. So let's start it. So what are the biggest, what's one of the biggest issues that you've had with?
One of the biggest issues right now is the broker's compensation exhibit and the instructions to closing attorney. It seems to be a hot topic because the form is completely different this year than it was last year. Last year, the broker's compensation exhibit included the buyer side and the listing side. So both sides had to put their compensation on it. So then you didn't have to have the instructions to closing attorney if it was correct on the exhibit. But people were messing it up on the broker's compensation, so then you had to have an amendment fixing the exhibit, and then you had to have the instructions to closing attorney. It's like this vicious cycle. It's like just so many forms. So this year, they changed that to where the broker's compensation exhibit is a buyer's broker's compensation exhibit. They added the word buyers. So now it's only the buyer side on that. And the mistakes that I'm seeing are listing agents are putting their compensation on the buyer's broker's compensation exhibit.
Okay.
So what it looks like is they're double paying a buyer's agent.
That would be fantastic if you're a buyer's agent.
It would be. So I'm seeing 2% on the top line, 3% on the bottom, where it would be 5% that the seller's paying, right?
Yeah.
2% to this agent and 3% to that agent. Well, no, that's the buyer. So the buyer's getting the agent's getting the whole 5%. So that's the common mistake. They're they're not understanding that this new broker's compensation exhibit is for buyers only.
Okay, great. Well, let me ask you this. Is the instructions to closing attorney required?
Yes, it is.
For the attorney's office?
Yes, they are now requiring it 100%.
Okay,
because the buyer's brokerage compensation exhibit is not a required form. It is, is an exhibit.
It's an exhibit.
Only.
Yeah, correct.
So you don't have to have it. So I've mentioned to my agents, bypass the broker, the buyer's brokerage compensation agreement, send in your offer with the instructions to closing attorney.
And have your, that's a great idea. Then you're just bypassing the BBA or the buyer brokerage agreement exhibit.
I'm bypassing doing an amendment to fix the broker's compensation exhibit and doing an instructions to closing attorney. But honestly, there's no wrong way to do anything. It's just, you're avoiding having to do multiple forms if you just make your offer. You've already asked the agent what the compensation is. You've already asked her. We're all asking. Yeah. Sometimes when you request a showing, they text it to you.
Correct.
So you already know. So just take the instructions to closing attorney, put that amount in there, slip it in there with your offer, because if the seller's paying the buyer's broker directly, they have to sign the instructions to closing attorney anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just bypass the exhibit, just right to the, the ITCA. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you a question. What if, let's say that you're negotiating and for some reason the listing broker decides, hey, I'm going to give a home warranty. Mm-hmm. Where do you put that?
Second page of the instructions to closing attorney. You can do it in 5, 6, or special steps.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I prefer special steps because I can verbatim. I'm OCD. I will verbatim this. Whereas 5 and 6 is just you literally put the amount or the percentage and who's paying it.
Okay.
I like to spell it out. So, but there's no wrong way.
Well,
5,
when it's
6,
spelled out, then
there's no question.
No one can misunderstand it. The buyer broker or the listing agent,
or the attorney,
I mean, we had one last week. It was a fun, doozy one. We sent I don't know how many amendments, exhibits, instructions to closing because the listing agent was having a doozy of a time because of the buyer's broker compensation exhibit. Yeah. So okay.
I have one that I'm working on right now. I asked, now every attorney is different.
Yeah.
Being a transaction coordinator, I work with tons of attorneys, and every attorney has their own rules. Wiseman, for instance, they want you to do an amendment to fix that buyer's broker's compensation and submit the instructions to closing attorney. The attorney that I'm working with right now in one of my agent's transactions that's closing tomorrow, she said, don't worry about the amendment, just send over the instructions to closing attorney. So they're all different. So there's just a lot of forms flying around.
Yeah, I think there's too many forms flying around, but everybody's trying to cover their behinds.
And I get it. Yeah.
Okay. So what else are you seeing that's changed?
Lead-based paint.
Oh,
Haven't
that's
really
a
had to
doozy
work
of
with
a
that
one.
much because the whole 1978, my agents are currently haven't had to deal with any of this right now. However, there are two forms. There's the F317. That is the buyer's agent form.
Yeah.
Where, okay, so I took a GAR forms class. We've all taken tons. I like to take 3, 4, or 5 because everyone has a different opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So this one particular attorney said that the lead-based paint F317 is a required form if you are getting compensation from the seller.
So that's the buyer's lead-based paint that you send to the selling agent.
Correct. So before you make an offer,
Because it's so crazy. Why am I trying to send something to the seller when I'm not even supposed to be speaking to the seller as a buyer broker?
Right. So,
Anyway.
but that's the thing is it says if you're getting compensation from the seller, you must fill out this notice about the lead-based paint.
Okay. So
Even
every buyer's agent
that's
needs
what this
to send
attorney
that
said.
out.
That's what this attorney said. My
Okay,
agents haven't been doing it.
Yeah, I have not.
I haven't,
been requiring
I mean,
it because
yeah.
that's the first I've heard of it.
Right. I mean, I
I've
really
taken
don't.
3 classes and
Right,
that's
and
new.
everybody's different. They
Yeah.
all say a different thing. I guess it would be to protect, like, hey, there's a mantle,
Yeah.
a picture, a cute little mirror
door.
over here
Yeah.
that you brought in. This is a brand new construction home, but we brought all this old stuff in from our old farmhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Could have lead-based paint.
Okay.
You know, whatever. It's just another form to add to the mix. Now, the other one is another form where they're making the listing agent send notice to their own seller. Okay?
So, but if you use the GAR,
if you use the GAR listing agreement, you don't need the new F318
because it's in there, correct?
because it's in there. It's only for those who don't use GAR forms, like the RE forms.
So that the people that aren't realtors, basically,
They have
for the
to,
most part.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
Anything else that you want to throw out there? Because it's such a jumbled up.
that's the instructions of closing attorney and the broker's compensation exhibit. That's the big one. You know, that's the big one. As for any changes that have been done, the purchase and sale changed a little bit, nothing major.
Mm-mm.
You know, everything's still pretty much the same.
Yeah,
honestly.
the purchase and sale basically was just lead-based paint. They added that into it.
Well, and the broker's compensation,
Yeah.
they changed the verbiage on that. Instead of just broker's compensation, now it's buyer's broker's compensation. So
Right.
it's just not a required form.
But
Save
if-
yourself the paperwork.
Yeah. I mean, save yourself the hassle. Just go ahead and hire Kelly as your
that too.
transaction coordinator, and then
And I'll do it for you.
She'll take care of it all. I mean, and then you won't have to worry about liability for anything. But anyway, well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for
welcome.
chatting with us, Kelly.
Thanks for having me.
And we will see you next week. Make it a great one. So, full disclosure, Kelly nor I are attorneys. So, if you have questions about anything on the GAR changes or any GAR form, speak to your broker or speak to an attorney. Make it a great one. Thank you.